Hey, welcome back to the Vet SOS Entrepreneur Spotlight. Hey, so remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the Vet SOS Lifeline. The Veteran Entrepreneur Spotlight is proud to be affiliated with the Neil Haley Show and sponsored by Spirit Point Solution. Hey, so at Spirit Point Solution is a one-stop shop for leading-edge products, services, and training from multiple vendors, from your AI to your corporate gifts and so much more. They have everything you need to help your organization thrive in a modern economy. So check out all the valuable offerings at spearpointonline.com. I say that again, spearpointonline.com. And remember to use our code, man, VET SOS on anything you purchase there. That will help us continue our mission of improving the lives of those who have served. Hey, so today's show, we got a very special show today. We have Mr. Michael Dermer. He's a former M&A lawyer, founder and author of The Lonely Entrepreneur. Michael built the first company in the U.S. to reward people for healthy behaviors. We're going to talk more about that, creating the health rewards industry. He watched his company nearly vanish, only to rebuild it and have a successful exit. Fueled by the experience, Michael's mission at The Lonely Entrepreneur is dedicated to helping founders conquer the isolation, the pressure, and emotional burnout that often comes with scaling a business. Now, Michael has launched the Veteran Entrepreneur Initiative to empower 100,000 veterans and their families with the skills and ongoing support to start or grow their business. How's it going today, Michael?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for coming on. So now, usually I ask the question of transitioning, but you're not a veteran. So I want to go back in time. You initially started out this company called Incent One.
Yep.
And that was kind of the premise. I want to talk to have about it so you can have a healthy foundation. Like, what was the thought process when you started this business?
Yeah. So I started my career as a corporate lawyer, as a mergers and acquisitions lawyer in New York City. Worked for a large New York law firm as a young deal guy. But I was really an entrepreneur at heart. And I stumbled upon and started the first company in the US to reward people for being healthy. I was out to dinner with some friends, and one of my friends' wives said, "Do you realize for every 10 women that don't follow their prenatal care, it costs the healthcare system $1 million?" And one of my buddies said, "Why don't you just pay them all 10 grand?" And that was it. That was the beginning of the end. As they say, I left this prestigious law firm for a basement and an idea, and started what got to be known as the first company in the US to reward people for being healthy.
Got you. Now, that company didn't come without any struggles. Understand back in 2008, the company you built from the ground up clearly was about to go under, but you guys survived. I would ask, what did you learn from the experience to where you were able to go through that major, um, crash, let's just call it that, and then
Yep.
still make it on the other side of it?
When we first started the company, people said, not that I haven't heard this before, rewarding people. They're like, "We're never going to do this. We're never going to pay people to be healthy." And so we fought and battled for years, for the better part of 10 years, and then broke through, and then grew from, 20 employees to 800 employees. And we were kind of on top of the world. And then the financial crisis hit. So as we say, what we built in 10 years almost got destroyed in 10 days. And it was pretty much true. And so at that point, you just kind of dust yourself off and you build a plan, right? The only thing you can do is to try to take the energy that you have and put it to what you can do tomorrow. What I would say is, what I told my team was, listen, don't hurt anybody, don't break any laws. But other than that, we got to make it up as we go along. So it's, I would never really equate it to war, but you're in a war, right? You don't have
Yep.
enough money, your customers are collapsing. And so what you do is maybe one night you drink bourbon and eat Haagen-Dazs, but then the next day, right, you build a plan, try to execute your plan. And the hard part is all of our customers were the biggest companies in America. So they were getting killed at the time. So there was no real end in sight. So I think just being super creative and taking all of your energy, and it sounds cliche, focusing on the plan, because you could focus on what if, I can't believe. If you did the math didn't work. So you're just like, I got to put one foot in front of the other, and you chip away. And every day, I used to say, every day I get kicked between the legs about 10 times a day, just stop noticing, which is probably both good and bad, and learned a lot about bourbon. But I think the key was, number one, you got to be super creative. You couldn't just sit there and follow the rules, because, even though an 800-person company is pretty small and pretty big, but in the grand scheme of the world, Bear Stearns was going down. And it's like, you've got to drive the wrong way down a one-way street, be super creative and just try to focus all your energy on the plan and executing. And fortunately, we were able to come out of it after some working, 3 years of 20-hour days. And
Wow.
fortunately, after that, got approached and got bought. So it worked out great. It was for big boys and girls, as they say.
Got you. Got you. So now let's go back a little bit further now. I mean, you're a corporate lawyer. I mean, you're probably making good amount of money at your
Yep.
corporate lawyer job. Like, what's going on in your mind to say, you know what, I want to leave this corporate, nice, safe corporate job to go be an entrepreneur, like you said, going to the basement, like you starting all over again. So what was that mindset like, and what made you want to do that?
For all of your listeners that have had this happen, have had the great fortune of just having that aha moment.
Hmm.
And it almost feels like there's it becomes oxygen to you. The minute somebody said that to me, why would you just pay these 10 women $10,000 and do the math? That was it. That was the beginning. And it was now don't get me wrong. We researched and we planned and we did all this stuff, but once you set the objective and you go, we could really change the world. We could help the healthcare system. We could help people. We're thinking about somebody that makes $30,000 a year in a factory that could get $100 for doing what helps the system. So, for your folks out there, whether it's the cookies they bake or it doesn't matter what it is. Once you get that passion and that vision, it's not if, it's just how. Don't get me wrong. People are like, what are you doing? You're leaving one of the most prestigious law firms in the world for a basement, but I don't regret it of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely, I mean, that's an entrepreneur mindset. I mean, you're leaving the nice, some type safe confines of a night. I'm sure you had an office on the corner overlooking New York City or something like that, and you said, "Oh, I want to go down here to the basement and start something fresh
Right.
and new."
You're like, what?
Now, since we're talking about that, how did your family take that? Were you married at the time? Did you have any kids? What was the family situation at the time when
No,
you
I
was
was I was single. I was
good?
in my late 20s,
Okay.
so it made it a little bit easier to be able to do on your own.
Uh-huh.
But there's still a little bit of you sure you're not insane type of perspectives on it. So, but they got it too. They understood the opportunity to move the needle and not only create something that had the great opportunity to be a great business, but also to help society. And those are the things that really motivated me. It wasn't money. I already had money, had a
Uh-huh.
great job. It was really, could you create a great business, but also, change the world a little bit.
Got you. Now, when you sold your company, you went on to be the CIO's Chief Incentive Officer of WellTalk, and then after that, you started the Derma Group, and then now you are here, the founder and CEO of the Lonely Entrepreneur. So, kind of tell us that process, because it sounds like you've had a entrepreneur mindset for a very long time. I don't know why you went the lawyer route, but you had a entrepreneur mindset for a very long time. Tell us how that transition got you where you are now as the founder and CEO of the Lonely Entrepreneur.
Well, I was really trying to become a professional baseball player. That didn't happen. And so
Wait a minute, say what now? Really?
yeah, so I was a pretty good college baseball player and
Okay.
did not make it. So, well, here's what I would say: the transition jobs that you mentioned were really just transition jobs. But for me, I wasn't looking for my next thing. I was just helping some friends in New York, where I'm from, for fun. And one of them said to me, "Being an entrepreneur is really lonely." And I went, didn't think much of it. Was walking down the street a couple weeks later, and I said that to my friend of mine. And he said, "What'd you say?" And I said, "Lonely entrepreneur." He goes, "Oh my God, what is that? That says it all." And I was like, "Yeah, it's just a phrase." He goes, "Come here." And he goes into a Starbucks, packed Starbucks in New York City. And I thought it looked like he was going to rob the place. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he screams at the top of his lungs, "Who here is a lonely entrepreneur?" And everybody put their hand up. And I was like, "Oh, so you have a great city like New York with talent and money and passion and all of these people working hard on it, but it's not turning into success for most of them.
Hmm.
If you could wake up and do anything, boy, wouldn't it be fun to do that?" And that was the beginning of the Lonely Entrepreneur.
Got you. Got you. So you started Lonely Entrepreneur. Like, who was your target audience? Who were you trying? I know you said a lot of people in New York City, but how did that evolve to where you are now with helping veterans? I guess is the
The
bigger
one
question.
thing, and this is what related to the Veterans Initiative, the one thing that really started was like, okay, if it's so hard, how do you become an entrepreneur? Even though I was an entrepreneur, I was pretty formally trained. I was a corporate lawyer and a finance guy. How do you become an entrepreneur? If you get dropped in, Nashville, Tennessee, or Sioux Falls, Iowa, and what I realized is that there was this kind of disorganized hodgepodge of resources, right? Think about when
Mhm.
you leave the military, like where do you go? You go to a class and and I was a technology guy. I was like, why isn't there just a one-stop shop? Like, why isn't there just an online platform that has everything you need? And so we're like, wow, if you could, it should have been done already by somebody,
But
it,
somebody, yeah, absolutely.
right? And it wasn't. And if you created a platform you could give to everybody, so a high school kid, a vet leaving the service, a soccer mom, a technologist, and you could build a platform that had everything, and it didn't exist, so we built it. So we had the opportunity to really help, quote unquote, everybody, and so we created this thing called the learning community, which we think is the first one-stop shop for entrepreneurs.
Got you. So kind of tell us what, like you said, it's a one-stop shop. Kind of give us more details on what that looks like. How do you serve people and what you do?
Yeah, we just said, okay, if you're going to give something to everybody, what do they need to have? And we
Uh-huh.
concluded that it was three things: knowledge, tools, and support. So knowledge is, what's an income statement? What do I do when I'm freaking out? So in one place, we now have 3,000 on-demand learning modules on
Wow.
everything: sales, marketing, finance. And so you don't have to go all over the place to find it. Secondly is tools. I need templates and legal agreements and how to pick an accounting package. And then thirdly, and equally importantly, was on-demand support, right? So that meant support right when you needed it. So it's online group coaching. You can sign up for an unlimited amount of online group coaching. And then a place to get your questions answered real time by members of our team. So you could walk into like a veterans business center and you can talk to somebody for an hour, but that's
Yes.
not really the experience. So we want to think about on-demand information, on-demand support for people at regardless of what stage that they're at.
Got you. And so now you've got this online platform, and so people can tap into it as they want in this on-demand process. How does that, I guess my question is, what made you want to give this out to veterans and reach out to more veterans in that space? Because I mean, you didn't have a military background. What was the thought process behind that?
Yeah, no, I appreciate very much the question. We could apply it to everybody and we run initiatives across, but you know what, honestly, candidly, growing up in New York and New Jersey where I grew up, even though there's a military base right there, I just didn't feel the people in the military, I don't have to tell you this, make such unbelievable sacrifices. We
Hmm.
forget all the time. It's a volunteer army, if you will.
Yeah.
And, especially in the Northeast, and in New York, the military is just not honored the way I feel like it should be honored, candidly. And that always bothered me. And it was something that was very passionate about. Every Memorial Day, I sneak into in a parade. So I just feel that there's no more honored or cherished profession than the military. And that's just not the way it was up in the Northeast, right? Don't get
Hmm.
me wrong, there's a couple of people there, but people don't wake up in New York and go, man, this is what my father did and I'm proud to do it, as opposed to so many other places in the country. And so you would hear the stories of so many vets leaving the service, and same problem. They didn't have a real good scalable way to learn. There might be a transition center, there might be a veteran business center, but it's like, here's a business plan class and sit down. And so it was just something that was personally a passion of mine. I remember it was in the book, in 2008 when things collapsed and people said, yeah, how'd you get through it? And,
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff. One thing I always remember, even though I wasn't alive, was D-Day. Imagine the guys getting off the boat, just
Yeah.
knowing they're going to get shot in the face. I mean, and I would never, ever, ever compare what I went through in 2008, which is business and money and healthcare, to the unbelievable sacrifices of being in war. And so it's something I just always wanted to do something about. And I have spent some time down in Tennessee where those communities are so honored. So it was nothing other than, I just don't think we treat vets the way they should be treated, given the sacrifice they make for our country.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can completely agree with you on that one. I mean, I've served over close to 25 years, and sometimes I feel like, okay, most time the best I get is thank you for your service. Um, and then, like you mentioned before, when you transitioning out, I mean, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, I didn't know. I've been in there since I was 18. Now I'm like 42, almost turning 43, getting out. I don't know what the hell's going on outside of that, the confines of this organization. So it's like, it's definitely a big shift for us as veterans, whether you serve 25 years or you serve 5 years. I mean, it's a definitely big transition. So I really commend you for putting this together.
And, we always talk about, I mean, the tragedy around healthcare, which should be
Mhm.
covered, till you die, and that whole
Yes.
challenge with the VA. But so many people in our small communities around the country have their own businesses, come from family businesses, run a restaurant or a farm or whatever it is. And so the opportunity to have a platform you could give to all of them,
Mhm.
or at least a lot of them, and not get caught up in the, the politics of the of budgets and things like that, is something that's just we're all really passionate about.
Got you. Now, here's another question for you. So now, since it's so many different avenues people can be an entrepreneur, how do you deviate and scale and figure out which ways to help people that come onto your site? This is all in one spot. Do
Yeah,
you?
that was really the way we approached it. We didn't want to just help people at this stage or that stage or this industry or that industry. We said, how do you help everybody? And what we really thought about was, okay, um, what do you need? Well, you need sales and marketing and finance. And in every one of those areas, if you really think about it, there's 100 of the same things,
Hmm.
right? They run across all those different things. It's probably like putting together a battle plan, right? There's components to it. And while
Yes.
you may be more well-versed on sales or more well-versed on marketing or more well-versed in finance, by having all that in the same place, you can kind of dial into the ones that you need. And we've got the help for you, right? So if you don't know what to do, we've got this on-demand help. So we've got these group coaching sessions and people that you literally can ask a question and ask for doing it. So we had to make it broad enough that it applied to everybody, and then ultimately would give people the guidance they need to be able to do what they need to do.
Got you. Now, for entrepreneur veterans like myself, how can we be a part of this program? How do we get enrolled? How does it work?
Yeah, so there's two parts of it. There's the part that's free to veterans, for 100,000 veterans, and then there's the funding part. So I'll start with the funding part. So the funding part is, we would encourage any corporations, philanthropies, and even individuals. You can just go to TLEfoundation.org/VEI, which stands for Veterans Entrepreneur Initiative, and it gives you the option to contribute any amount of money. For every $250 contributed, we can support a vet for a full year with the platform. And also any particular vets that want to go there, or I would encourage you can go to that site as well, and sign up. And also anybody that wants to, feel free to pass along my contact information. Anybody that wants to sign up for it, or works for an organization that wants help, or a veteran business center that would want to take advantage of it. Our goal here is, with giving it to this 100,000, and frankly, 100,000 we think is just the start.
Hmm.
We want to get to 1 million at some point. So if you're a corporation, philanthropy, or an individual, you want to support this financially, great. And if you're a vet, you want to have access to it, just reach out to us, and it would be our pleasure.
Absolutely. Give us that website one more time.
Sure. It's just TLEfoundation.org
TLE
slash
Foundation.
VEI.
VEI. So TLEfoundation.org
Yep.
/TEI.
VEI, veteran.
VEI.
Yep.
Veteran. Got you. Man, so it sounds like this is going to be a great program. I'm definitely going to sign up right after this.
Yep.
So definitely looking forward to it. Is there anything else that you want to put out to the folks while we got their ear? You got them listening to you. Anything else you want to put out to them to help them out?
Well, listen, you don't need me to say this, but I do think that around the country and around the world, we should understand the sacrifices that our military communities and their families make. Oh, and that's the other thing I should mention, is this is also available to families, not just the vets themselves. So family members can sign up, and the like. And I just think that if we can do our small part to try to make the transition a little better, it's the least that we can do for the fat sacrifices that the military makes for us.
Absolutely. Hey, Michael, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to have that link to the website down below of this video. So thank you, Michael, for joining us on the Vet SOS podcast today. Hey, on behalf of the Vet SOS family, we'd like to thank you and everyone for joining us. You can find Vet SOS podcast on all your favorite platforms, your YouTube, your social media platforms. And when you're on there, make sure you subscribe and follow Vet SOS so you don't miss anything like this great interview we just did. And also remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the Vet SOS Lifeline.